So how does this relate to the show we just watched, and how does it relate to us? Well, if you just saw Ron and Marie, you saw that, again, you had two people blaming everything. Blaming the economy, blaming each other, blaming themselves. And that blame game is a prison. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but if you want to change the quality of your life, the first breakthrough is stop playing the blame game with anybody, yourself or anybody else. Stop playing the surface game. We all have problems, and there's going to be more. I'm not Mr. Positive Thinking here to tell you, oh, watch these little tapes and there'll be no more challenges. I'm here to say you're going to have extreme stress in the future. If you don't have it now, it's coming, right? Sorry to be so blank and direct, but it's true. But see, that stress can be a source of strength for you if you just make those filters, those perceptual filters that allow you to take back the power of your life. You have no power when something or someone else is responsible. And always it looks that way on the surface. On the surface, when you watch the show, I'm sure you said, oh my God, this is like so many families, or this is our family. So many families, something was done to them outside their control. He worked for 23 years, Ron, for the same company. He gave his heart and soul. He wasn't a casual employee. He was one of the most liked and respected executives there. But when they went through the downsizing, he was so efficient in his security systems, a lot of technology took over, and boom, he was the person you could make redundant. But again, the guy's a fighter. He didn't give up. He took his money. He invested. He tried to figure out what to do. He got trained. He retooled. He went out in the business, but picked the wrong season for that particular business. And if you do the right thing at the wrong time, you don't get rewarded. You get pain. If you plant in the summertime, it doesn't work. If you buy a home, right thing to do. Buying it in 2006, wrong time, at least in North America. So you've paid a big price. Many of us, the only way you learn often is by experience. We don't know what's coming. Hindsight's always 20/20. So we can blame the economy. We can blame, the legislators. We can blame the people who are playing with interest rates. You can blame all that. And certainly they may play a role, but the quality of your life and mine, whether you be Frank or whether you be Ron, whether you be Kristen or Marie, that's something we can only take back when we get beyond the surface. The surface is always something on the outside that's affecting us. It does affect us, but we have the ultimate choice of deciding what it means. And when you decide what something means, you instantaneously change the story of your life and the emotion that you feel, and therefore the quality of your life, which is what this is about. Breaking through to a greater quality of life, regardless of what you can't control. We can't control the outside world. We can't. We can influence it, but we can't control it. But we have absolute control of this world, the one inside here, the one between your ears and in your heart. And when you take control of that, the game changes. But I'll tell you what, you'll never do it when you get caught up in a blame game with a person who's closest to you. Your lover, your husband, your wife, your children, your mother, your father, your best friend, your boss, somebody who's there. If you get stuck in that game, you will feel like you're at the effect of everything. And all of us hate that. We can deal with almost any stress, but being out of control, that one makes people nuts. Research shows, you can make people nuts really easy. All you got to do is put them in a room and have a random buzzer go off at any time that they can't control for days and days and days, and they start to go nuts. If they feel like they can go turn that buzzer off, even if it happens all the time, they might get angry and frustrated, but they don't go crazy. We need to have control, and it's the illusion that we control life that makes us nuts. Trying to control other people. We can't control our own perceptions and meaning. Think about it. We can't control the weather. We control what the weather means to us. We can't control the events, but we can always control the meaning. And with the control of meaning, you take the control of your life. I hope I don't sound redundant, but it's the truth. I know you know this in your soul. And so part of why I made these stories, I made these I think of it as a documentary because it's not reality TV. It's the real thing. We didn't fake this. These people are real. What they went through is real. Is I wanted you to see what the surface problem was, and I was hoping you watched and saw the real problem. I'm sure you did. It looks like it's a money problem. That's the surface. And by the way, how do people deal with problems usually? On the surface. How do you know it's a surface approach? Well, most people try to ignore the problem, or maybe they try to forget the problem. Go eat something, go watch TV, go get involved with some other challenge, go talk about somebody else, gossip, anything to get away from dealing with your problem. So ignore it and forget about it. It's the first way. The other way you know that people are dealing with a problem on the surface is that they're blaming something. An event, other people, or even yourself. Blaming yourself is not the same as taking back control. Blaming yourself just makes you feel bad, like I screwed up, I messed up. That's not, you're gonna feel so bad, you're not gonna have an emotional state to help anybody else. You're gonna be going down here and you won't be able to help your partner, much less help yourself. I knew I had to break them out of this game and get them to go deep. How do you go deep? Well, you stop the criticism. I'll tell you something. The impact of criticism in a relationship is greater than any of us know. It sounds so light, so simple. Anybody can criticize, but it's when the person you love most in the world criticizing you, telling you that who you are and what you do is wrong all the time, that stacking inside the human heart and soul is pretty brutal. In fact, Dr. Gottman is probably the greatest student. I say student because I think all of us that are teachers have to be students. Maybe he's the best teacher. He's been studying at least more couples than anyone alive for a longer period of time. It's the University of Washington. He's had, I think, now almost 65,000, maybe it's now 100,000 couples he studied. And I'm talking about with cameras watching them for weeks, in rooms, like a reality TV show. And he's gotten to watch the patterns. And the guy has a 92% accuracy in being able to tell you whether you and your partner will make it or not, whether you will stay married. And all he needs is a 5-minute conversation between the two of you and watch you. How does he do that? Well, he's learned all of these little tools, and he's basically come up with what he calls the 4 horsemen, that basically when these 4 are there, that relationship is going down. 92% accuracy of whether your marriage is going to make it or not. And he's been doing it here for, I guess, almost 40 years. Well, those 4 horsemen start with criticism. Now, what are you saying, Tony? I'm supposed to just accept whatever my spouse says to me? I should just put up with what they're doing? I should just pretend I'm happy all the time? No, I'm not into the BS positive thinking, fake it stuff. I never have been. I'm saying to you instead, you have every right to be upset. You can even complain, just don't criticize. What's the difference? Marie was criticizing. I know, many of you didn't like her in the beginning. It's like she seems like such a, and there were multiple metaphorical examples that people gave me when they watched this, and I showed it to them before it aired. And people didn't like her. They said, look, she's so unjust, she's so unfair. And so a lot of people blame Marie for the problem. She should have gone to work. Other people looked at him and said, he's an idiot. You know, how could he blow away their entire life savings? You know, how come he didn't follow through? And how come he's not supporting his wife? Plus, look what he says to her. Like, if you go get a job, it'd be a better situation. After all, you're just doing these piddly things like taking care of the kids. Ooh, if you watch the show, you know how upsetting that was, even to me with him. But the point is, the blaming thing back and forth didn't change anything. See, all the criticism that people do of celebrities, you see it every day. People watch television, they read newspapers, they go on the web to find out what's the latest thing about someone that criticizing somebody famous. Why do we fall in this trap? Because underneath it all, we all have these deep fears that at some level we're not enough, and that if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. If I'm not beautiful enough, strong enough, smart enough, fast enough, funny enough, right, spiritual enough, a good enough mother, a good enough father, a good enough friend, top athlete, whatever it is, the better person in business or sales or negotiation or marketing or whatever the case may be, internet. Today, all human beings have the same fears they've always had. We all want love more than anything on earth, and we all believe we have to be enough. We have to be some way or be someone to be that way. So there's 2 ways to really be enough. One is to take risks and try to do something, try to accomplish something, try to make something happen. But to do that means taking risks. You could fail, and if you fail and other people see it, or you do, you might start looking like, well, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not enough, you're not worthy of love. That's the equivalent for most people of psychological death, to feel worthless and unloved. What's worse? Very little in life. So for most people, a lot of people can deal without food, but they can't deal without feeling like something in life matters, that they matter to someone, that they're loved by something or someone, at least themselves or God or something. The creator. So this process, really what I do with people is to help them to break out of that illusion, break out of that mindset that says there has to be something to blame or I'm not enough. Instead, it's about saying when you get to this relationship in your life, that relationship that you have great relationships with usually is a friendship because you don't have many rules. Friends you stick by. They can make mistakes. You're saying they're having a bad day. But if it's the person you're in an intimate relationship with, you've got all these other rules of how they're supposed to be. I'm saying to you, today might be the day to change your whole life and have a breakthrough in any relationship. If you don't have a relationship, it's probably because you're afraid. You're afraid of being rejected. You're afraid of someone not loving you, so don't even get too close. Or you'll say, no, I'm just so busy with work, or all the good ones are gone. You know and I know that's all BS, that's all a story. If you want to change your life, the way you change your life is you stop making this mindset happen that says, I got to be a certain way, and instead you figure out what you can give. Frank figured out what to give his lady in spite of the fact he was in a chair, and then he was free. You see, Ron suddenly find out he can have something to give his lady. He couldn't turn the finances around yet. But when I took those two and we put them down on the streets, and suddenly they were homeless, what you may not know is that I worked with him in advance, and we had him do some self-defense training so that he knew he could take care of her. Didn't make it in the film because it was a 30-day journey. But I did. I didn't just throw him down in the street. You might think, well, there's cameras around. It was dangerous as heck. We had hidden cameras on the piece. These people were sitting and they're sleeping on the street and going through what they're going through. And the beauty was, Ron was there. Suddenly, Ron felt like he was worthy. He could do something for his woman. He could succeed finally. And she felt like she needed him. And you watched them come together. The criticism disappeared, and everything was about how do we support each other. And that was the whole theme here. The whole theme was if we put these people together, they'll get what they really want. They can deal with the other problems if together they love and connect with each other, if they stop blaming each other. They can also get their kids to feel safe. How do you think kids feel when their parents are constantly at it with each other? And if they put that together, they can also get their act together and start turning their finances around as well. But we had to create an environment. And you might have to do the same thing too. You might have to get out of the environment you're in to create something new. So here's what I want you to get. If you want to go deep, you got to stop blaming. And so what's the opposite of blaming? It's questioning. See, the only way you get really upset, the only way to really be frustrated and angry and all those different emotions you might feel with your partner or even with yourself is you have to believe your own thoughts. What do I mean by that? Well, I stumble on it because you think about it, most of us think whatever we believe is just true. But haven't you had some beliefs in the past that maybe at one time in your life you just believed heart and soul, you would even fought for those beliefs, but you look back on it now and you're almost embarrassed that you believe that damn stuff, right? And most people have. I bet you do too. So if you think about a thought and you believe it enough, like, she shouldn't treat me that way, or, Ron, he should have done this, or Marie, she should do that. The more you have these statements about how people should be, and you believe it's true, the more angry you get, the more frustrated you get with your partner or with your boss or whoever you're dealing with. So one of the questions I've learned to ask myself is, instead of accepting, whenever I'm upset, I know some part of me is judging. It's very hard, nearly impossible, to influence somebody while you're judging them, because they can feel it. So one of the reasons I can work with people is hard to judge them because I've been such an idiot in so many areas, and I've gotten a little smarter in some areas of my life, so I can relate instead of judge. If I haven't done what they've done, I've done something probably equally silly or stupid, so I can't be silly or stupid, I've done it too. Anything you'd be upset with your partner about, I guarantee you've done something, if not similar, something that would have equally silly or stupid impact if you're being fair with that person. So I have a friend that years ago, I used to ask this question to people. I'd always say, they tell me what they believe, and then I'd say, tell me the truth. I said, what do you mean that is the truth? I said, really? What's the truth? And I had people dig a little deeper. I have a friend named Byron Katie, and she wrote a whole book just on 4 questions. It was a good little technique she created. She called it The Work. And I want to give you her work as a work assignment for this session. It's really simple. You can only feel a certain way. You can only believe something if you don't question it. So I'll give you an example. When Ron got his job with Willie Deagle, and I don't know if you recall, but if you watched this recently, I'm sure you do, Willie Deagle you might think is being made up for the camera or hyperactive or acting a certain way. The guy ain't acting. What you see is what you get. Willie fires people so fast it makes your head spin. Willie pushes people. Willie thinks he's, to some extent, like he's taking guys and making them men and women and turning them into Marines, like he's a drill sergeant. And he treats people in a way that most people would not deal with it. Most people would call disrespectful, mean, hurtful, harsh. But he runs in one of the toughest economies, some of the most successful steakhouses in the world, and he has an incredible standard, and his food's amazing, and the prices are right, and he grows like crazy. So he's not everybody's favorite person, especially not people that work for him sometimes. But underneath it, the guy's got a great heart. I mean, he really does. But he's learned this is the way to be, and he lives that way. So Ron is so excited to have this opportunity to go work and take care of his family, but we're deliberately putting him in an environment where he's going to confront everything he dislikes, because Ron's whole life is about work your tail out, Appreciate other people and they appreciate you. But if you want to be stressed, all you got to do in life is expect life to be a certain way that it isn't.